Now that Kyle Busch has signed with Richard Childress Racing, a hot topic of conversation has been their past and moving on from it. Of course, the standout moment is when Richard Childress punched Kyle Busch, but many of us tend to forget the other heated and tense moments that led up to this climax. So strap in, pull them belts tight, take that watch off, and relax as we go through the events that led to an all-time car owner putting an all-time driver into a headlock. Right before this video starts, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video like this. As always, thank you for watching, and let's get right into it. Kyle Busch's first controversy with RCR started way back in 2004 at Darlington against Ron Hornaday Jr. It was round 33 of 34, and Kyle Busch was within striking distance of the championship. However, the two raced each other a little too hard for second place, and this happened.
Team Marines, Marine mentality, they'll keep digging, and they hate all the Marines doing a heck of a job out there, and we pray for your safety. And for all the families who lost loved ones, we're with you.
After getting into Hornaday, Busch just cleaned him out. After receiving damage in the incident, Busch could only muster 33rd place. As a result, Kyle lost too many points, and Martin Truex Jr. would clinch the championship. The next year in 2005 at Dover, Kyle Busch got into it with Kevin Harvick. Busch got loose and chased the car up the hill and completely took him out. On the other hand, Harvick kept his foot in the gas all the way down the front stretch out of frustration. I'll just let these two explain how they felt about the situation.
A really awesome shot back low Chevrolet today, and it was going to win the race, but Kevin Harvick wanted to end the day short on us. You know, I was trying to chase it up the racetrack and squeeze him in the fence, and then he wanted to commit murder on me and drive me down into turn one wide open all the way along the side of my car. So yeah, I don't even need to look at it. I mean, basically what happened was yeah, you got a lot of these guys got a lot faster race cars than they do talents, and
now, we all know that Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a feud from 2007 to 2008. Although Jr. didn't drive for Richard in the Cup Series, it's no secret that the Earnhardt family had a close and memorable relationship with him. Not only did Earnhardt Sr. drive for him for decades in the Cup Series, Jr. made a few Busch Series starts for him, and Kerry and even Jeffrey Earnhardt have driven select races for RCR in various series. As close as Richard and Sr. were, there is no doubt in my mind that this feud not only caught the attention of Richard, but his perception of Kyle moved slightly more negative. In the years building up to the infamous clash with Richard, Kyle Busch was at his peak, in terms of not only winning, but becoming the most hated driver, being a hothead, getting into fights, and rivalries in general. Just to go to show, Kyle Busch had some sort of heated confrontation or incident with these following drivers in just 4 seasons from 2007 to 2010. Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle, Martin Truex Jr., Stephen Wallace, Carl Edwards, Johnny Benson Jr., Tony Stewart, Brian Vickers, Chase Austin, David Rudiman, Todd Bodine, and several incidents with Brad Keselowski. With that said, Kyle was racing all 3 series pretty much every weekend, so it's understandable that he'd have more run-ins than your average driver, but come on, this many? Kyle found himself in the middle of controversy wherever he went, not just with Richard's drivers. So team owners already didn't like Kyle. It's not comparing apples to apples here, but Kyle was perceived somewhat like Ross Chastain is today. Ross is in the center of a lot of controversies, so it just makes drivers and owners that much more frustrated when they are his victim. Of course, Kyle was doing a lot more winning at the time than Ross is right now. Publicly, before any of these incidents I'm about to mention, it was evident that Richard Childress wasn't too fond of Kyle. I'm pretty sure it was because of some of these previous incidents and the garage perception of Busch at the time. Now, time for the real build-up. 2010 would set the framework for what would happen in 2011. In the 2010 Coca-Cola 600, on a late race restart, Kyle Busch attempted an aggressive move, and as a result, Jeff Burton's tire went down. Kyle would go on to finish 3rd as Jeff fell back to 25th. This led to a heated argument on pit road.
Oh boy. I don't know if that's Jeff Burton and Kyle Busch. Harsh words. And all in one direction.
Whoa, you don't see Jeff Burton get mad like that very often.
Man, that smirk just makes me want to punch him in the face. Anyways, Jeff had this to say after the fact.
Back of the transporter, Jeff, what were you upset about after the race?
Well, Kyle made it 3 wide there on the restart, trying to make something happen. I can't blame him for that. But the least he can do is stay off of me and cut the left rear tire. But when he gets over aggressive and I pay the price for it, I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm just not going to put up with it. I don't mind racing with him. I don't mind him being aggressive, but I'm not going to be the victim of his aggressiveness. I'm just not going to put up with it.
At Homestead the same year, the season finale, Kyle got into it with Kevin Harvick once again. To set the stage, Kevin Harvick could have mathematically won the championship, so he of course was pushing as hard as he could in case the top 2 in standings had some issues. Kyle had finished 3rd in the regular season and was one of the favorites to win the championship. However, a collapse in the final 10 races knocked him out of championship contention, so he was already rightfully frustrated. According to Harvick, Kyle had been racing him like a clown all race, running him all over the track, and he just got tired of it. In his opinion, he didn't want to get caught up racing Kyle when he had a championship on the line. Kyle had a hard hit to the inside wall and caught on fire. Now, let's jump ahead to the Southern 500 the next year in 2011, and boy, this is a blockbuster that even Hollywood couldn't write. After a restart with just 5 laps to go, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick made contact multiple times. Coming to 4 to go, the pair ran out of room, and it sent Boyer hard into the inside wall. Further, Kyle Busch dumped Kevin Harvick shortly after. Kyle said post-race that Harvick didn't give him any room and that he deserved it. After the race, Kevin Harvick followed Kyle Busch onto the racetrack, and then the pair came down pit road. After sitting for almost an entire minute, Harvick finally climbed out of the car, and Kyle Busch put the throttle down, shoving Harvick's car out of the way. Harvick did get a punch in along the way, which NASCAR didn't like. Now, this move by Busch is totally uncalled for, as there were a bunch of crew members on pit road. Kyle then scurried off into the garage area. There was almost a fight between the crew members, but officials kept it from happening. In the end, both drivers were placed on probation for the next 4 races and fined $25,000. Jump ahead about a month to the truck race at Kansas. Joey Coulter, driving for Richard Childress, and Kyle Busch were having a great battle for the last dozen laps. Kyle got by with 5 laps to go, but on the last corner of the race, Joey was able to clear Kyle Busch for 5th. Upon review, the move from Joey was maybe a little ambitious, but nothing wrong with that. Definitely not as bad as the modern day slide job. However, Kyle definitely thought there was something wrong as he pulled up beside him and gave him a little tap on the cooldown lap. Keep in mind that this was just a month after Darlington and Kyle was still on probation. But that's it, right? Well, about 30 minutes after the race, Richard Childress and Kyle would have a conversation. Richard, who was 65 years old at the time, infamously turned to his grandson, Austin Dillon, and asked him to hold his watch. Richard then approached Kyle and punched him in the head before they were separated. This turned into a verbal screaming match between the two. Richard then went after Kyle Busch again, put him into a headlock, and punched him a second time in the head. As a result of this, Richard was fined $150,000. Now, that was the main purpose of this video, but there's one last part to the story. The 2011 WinStar World Casino 350K. Ron Hornaday Jr. was racing for a championship with just 2 races to go, and Kyle was simply running for nothing but a race victory. Kyle and Hornaday were driving side by side before a lapped cart made it 3 wide. The two slid up the track and hit the outside wall. After the caution was waved, Kyle Busch completely junked Hornaday in what can only be described as absolutely gut-wrenching. Kyle's crew chief was furious, Ron Hornaday was furious, the commentators were furious, and Kevin Harvick was just done. Now, at the time, Ron Hornaday was driving for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. However, a shot at Richard Childress's driver is a shot at him as well. Further, the team was very closely aligned with RCR. I mean, Richard's grandsons, the Dillon brothers, made starts for the team, RCR Cup drivers raced for the team, drivers like Clint Boyer, they shared a lot of sponsors, and a huge part of the organization as a whole was development for Richard's young talent. After the season, Kevin Harvick announced that his team would no longer field cars in any NASCAR series, and his Nationwide Series team would be absorbed by RCR. In this event, Kyle went past the boys have at it rule just like he had done previously. But this time, he crossed an even further line. I mean, a guy who's racing for his career, for a championship. It cannot be overstated how messed up this move was, and as you can tell, it still infuriates me to this day. And this one move was all in spite of a small mistake by Hornaday, revenge on Kevin Harvick, and in spite of Richard Childress. Anyways guys, that is the full story between Kyle Busch and Richard Childress. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and comment down below. So after watching this, what are your opinions on Kyle Busch joining RCR? Will they really be able to put the past behind them? I mean, it looks like that right now, but over time, will the relationship sour? I don't know, after diving into this, these two really hated each other a lot more than what I remember. Anyways guys, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.